Alright, Engineer Certification Reference Guide for the Railroad Administration revised August 2000. Alright, application background, application locomotive of other service vehicles, class of service designated supervisor of locomotive engineers. Final rule amendments have been made in bold. Reference guide with the August 2000. This tab reference guide covers background and regulation, application responsibility for compliance locomotives, the other service vehicles, class of service designated supervisor of locomotive engineers. Question, John Kunkin, 202-493-6318, FRA Program Manager, Alan Naglar, 202-493-6049, Chief Counsel. Background, public concern following the 1987 the Chief of the MD Accident Rail Safety Improvement Act of 1988, December 1989, proposed rule, September 1991, final rule, May 1993, interim final rule, November 1995, interim final rule. The engineer certification rulemaking with the direct response of the 1987 American Amtrak Conrail accident with the Chase, Maryland, with the Section 4 of the Railway Safety Improvement Act of 1988, adopted by the Congress to wake of the Chase accident, required FRA to issue the regulation and establish a program to certify the licensed locomotive operators. In December 1989, FRA published a notice of proposed rulemaking. The final rule was issued in June 1991, but did not go into effect until September 1991. FRA then received 5 petitions for the Reconsideration Association, American Railroads, American Short Line Railroad Association, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineering, Sperry Rail Services, and concerned citizens. Several requests for the clarification were also received. As a result of the FRA made amendments, clarification, and form of the interim final rule went in effect in May 1993 as a different selection of Part 240 with the discuss of the petition reconsideration will be referenced. The second interim final rule became effective in November 1995. It amended Part 240 clarifying administrative hearing procedures for the engineer decertification cases. Background, the RSAC working group formed October 1996, September 1998, the proposed rule effective January 7, 2000, clarified the decertification process, clarifies when certified engineers are required to operate in service vehicles with the address concern with the DSLE with the qualification supervisor training and testing. The RSAC working group is formed in October 1996, September 22, 1998, proposed rule publishing with the Federal Register, Volume 63, number 183, page 5062-6 to make miscellaneous amendments to Part 240 on November 8, 1999. A final rule published in the Federal Register, Volume 6, number 214, page 96-6. Amendments largely based recommendation made by the RSAC Committee with effective with the date of the final rule, January 7, 2000. Final rule clarifies decertification process, clarified that the certified engineer, locomotive engineers are required to operate service vehicles and address the concern of some of the designated supervisor for the locomotive engineers insufficiently qualified to properly supervise, train, and test locomotive engineers. Schedule implementation certification program. Engineers and designated supervisor locomotive engineers were initially grandfathered with the issued certificates. Grandfathered engineers and designated supervisor locomotive engineers had to meet certification requirements within a 3-year period to have certificates reissued. Initially, each railroad was required with a designated written. All persons with a deemed qualified with a certified engineer as designated supervisor locomotive engineer for the purpose of the initial compliance referred to as grandfathered. Each engineer must be demonstrated with the railroad through the training and the testing prior experience that he or she with the necessary with the knowledge and skill of the engineer had to have been issued with a certificate December 31st, 1991. Each designated supervisor locomotive engineer must have the demonstrated with the railroad through the training, the testing, and the prior experience that he or she had with the knowledge and skills ability to be a designated supervisor locomotive engineer and had to have been issued the certificate with the December 31st, 1991. Grandfather engineer with the designated supervisor locomotive engineer should have been since been recertified and requalified 3 years in 3-year intervals being reissued certificates. 242.01 Application and responsibility for compliance. Purpose and scope. Ensure that the only qualified person for the operator locomotive in the training of the railroad may adopt and enforce additional more stringent requirements not inconsistent with the Part 240. Any person regardless of the job, certificate, classification, and title. Purpose and scope. The purpose of 240 was to ensure that the only qualified person to operate locomotive or train. Part 240 prescribed the minimum federal safety standards for the eligibility, training, testing, certification, monitoring of all locomotive engineers whom it applies. Part 240 does not restrict the railroad adopting and enforcing of additional more stringent requirements not inconsistent with Part 240. Qualification of locomotive engineer prescribed in Part 240 are pertinent to any person who operates the locomotive unless the person is specifically executed by the provision of the Part 240, regardless of the fact that the person may have the job classification title other than that of a locomotive engineer. Part 241. Preemptive effect construction preempts state laws except for those addressing local safety hazards. It does not preempt state criminal laws, CBA job classification titles for a locomotive engineer. Preemptive effect construction under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 2020 issuing regulation. Part 240 preempts the state law regulation and order covering the state same subject matter except with additional more stringent law of the regulation or order necessary to eliminate or reduce an essential load of safety hazard that is not compatible with the law of regulation order of the U.S. government, does not impose the unreasonable burden of the interstate of the commerce. The FRA does not intend by the issuing of these regulations preempt the provision state criminal law to impose the sanctions for the reckless conduct that leads to actual loss of life, injury, or damage to property, whether the scope of the provisions annual applies specifically with the railroad employees generally for the public large at large. The FRA does not intend by use of the term locomotive engineer part with the 240 preemptive with otherwise alter with the terms condition interpretation exists with the collective bargaining agreements of the employment and other job classification title for the identified with the person authorized by a railroad to operate a locomotive. 245 A, B, and C. Preemptive effect of the construction does not preempt the railroad disciplinary sanctions. It does not create a prohibit or decertified engineers from employment in other services. It does not abridge any of the additional CBA, RLA, or common law procedural rights. Preemptive effect of the construction and preemptive effect in construction continue, but the FRA does not intend by issuing with the regulation or preempt the otherwise authority of the railroad to enter disciplinary sanctions against the employee, including managers, supervisors, in the normal customary manner, including those contained into the collective bargaining agreement. Is nothing in the Part 240, but it contributes to the creative with the prohibited and eligibility entitlement with the enjoyment employment in other services of the railroad as a result of the denial, suspension, revocation of certification on Part 240. Nothing in the Part 240 shall be deemed with the bridge with additional procedural right with the remedies not inconsistent with the Part 240 with available to the employee with under collective bargaining agreement over the Railway Labor Act or with respect to the employment at will with the common law with respect to the removal from service or the adverse of the actions taken in consequent Part 240, 240 FDEF. Responsibility for compliance. Any person of the railroad manager, supervisor, official agents, and etc. owners, manufacturer, leaser, or lessor of the railroad equipment, the tractor, the facility, or employee of independent contractor providing goods for the services of the railroad or employee of the responsibility of the compliance. All the duties imposed by the 240 generally stay within terms of the duty of the railroad. Each person, including the contractor for the railroad, performs of the function covered in Part 240 must perform of the function according with the Part 240 definition. Person may with any type of the covered under the Title 1 U.S. Standard Code 1, including but not limited to the following: the railroad manager, supervisor, official of the other employee, with the agent of the railroad, or any owner with the manufacturer, lessor, or leaser of the railroad equipment and facility with the independent contractor providing goods and services to the railroad, and any employee of the owner, manufacturer, lessor, or leaser of the independent contractor. Part 243C. Application of 240 applies to all the railroads operating on a standard gauge track with a part of the general railroad system with the transportation, including with the commuter of the shore haul with the passenger service with the metro and suburb, includes high-speed systems that connect with the metro areas. The application except for the provided in 243B with the plant railroad and rapid transit operation with the urban area not connected with the general railroad system. Part 240 applies to all railroads. Note that Part 240 is not applicable to tourist scenic with excursion operation that occur on the track with the not part of the general railroad system of the transportation. Preamble to 1999 final rule. The definition of railroad means any form of the non-highway ground transportation that runs on rails, electromagnetic guideways, and any of the provided with the service of the transportation, including one commuter, other short haul railroad, passenger service with the metropolitan suburban area commuter railroad services that was operated with the Consolidated Railway Corporation on January 1st, 1979, and through high-speed ground transportation system with connection with the metropolitan areas without regard with whether those systems with the new technology not associated with the traditional railroads, but does not include with the rapid transit operation urban area that are not connected to the general railroad system with the transportation. Those 243A and 247. Does not apply with the plant railroads that operate only on the track inside of the plant, may be connected with only for the purpose of the receiving and offering own cars, but may not operate over the general system, even if the general system railroad is not using the track. rapid transit operation urban area with the not connected with the general railroad system. Application continued with the Part 240 does not apply with the railroad operates only when the track inside with the installation that is not part of the general railroad system of the transportation. Rapid transit operation urban area with the not connected with the general railroad system of the transportation. Note the word installation intended with the convey with the meaning of the physical and not just operational separateness from the general system railroad that operates only within the distinctive enclave that is connected with the general system only for the purpose of the receiving the offering of the own shipments within its installation. However, the rail with the operation conducted over the general system of the block of time during the which the general system railroad is not operating in not with any of the installation according not outside of the general system merely because of the operation separation from preamble to 1999 from Rule 243B. Plant railroad. Lease track exemption plants railroads are not subject to Part 240 if only with the cars shipped to and from the plant are moved on the lease track. If the plant operates on the general system railroad is subject to Part 240 while the general system equipment, crews, and practices plant railroad exemptions. Plant railroads are not subject to the Part 240 as long as they stay within the confines of the plant facility, but there are also project provision for the plant railroads operated with the lease track with Appendix A with the Part 209 state that in some case with the plant railroad leasing with the track immediately adjacent to the plant with the general system railroad, assuming such lease should provide with the actual practice with entail with the exclusive of the use of the track of the plant railroad and with the general system railroad be purpose of the moving only the shipped cars to within from the plant with the lease was removed from the plant railroad operation tracking to the general system for the purpose of the FRA regulation. Part 209 also states when the plant railroad itself that operates beyond the plant boundary with the general system may become the railroad with respect with the particular operation during with the equipment they crew and with the practice would be subject to the FRA regulation. In such case, if the plant railroads have an alternative except for their statute for the railroad proceed with comply with the regulation by having the host railroad certify any person who will operate on the railroad track such as seek a waiver, elect to cease operation on the general system according to the rule reflecting the A Part 209 interim final rule. Locomotives and other service vehicles. Operation of locomotive and certified engineer. Operational locomotive by certified engineer. Locomotive means of the piece for the track of the equipment of the specialized roadway maintenance of the equipment, the dual purpose of the vehicle for the operating according for the Part 240-104A2. With one or more propelling motors that designate to move the other equipment to carry the freight of the passenger traffic are both without propelling motors but with one or more control stands. Definition of the locomotive means for the piece for the non-track with equipment other than specialized roadway maintenance for the equipment that were dual for the purpose of the vehicle that operating in accordance with the 240-104A2 with one or more of the propelling motors designed for moving the other equipment with one or more propelling motors designed to carry freight with the passenger traffic are both through with the propelling motors with one more control stand with the definition previously mirrored and with the definition Part 229 locomotive safety stand with the revised text in bold letters. 247. Certified engineer not required to operate with a specialized roadway maintenance equipment or operate dual-purpose vehicle when related to the road maintenance of the movement authority protection from the train when operated the train qualified individual road worker. Certain with the determination whether the movement of the roadway maintenance equipment and dual-purpose vehicle requires a certified locomotive engineer. One, a railroad not required to use a certified locomotive engineer to perform the following tasks: operate special roadway maintenance equipment and operate dual-purpose vehicle that is being operated with conjunction with the roadway maintenance and with the related to maintenance as way include traveling to and from the worksite, moving under authority, railroad operating rules designated for the movement of roadway maintenance equipment, ensuring for the protection of such equipment and from the train movement and being operated individual train qualified in accordance with the 214, 341, 343, and 355 of the Chapter C pages 22 and 44, 22 through 24. 2. Railroad required a certified locomotive engineer operating with a dual-purpose vehicle with the other than accordant with this within above 240-104. Roadway maintenance equipment on the track and equipment powered by the means of the energy of the other than hand power, which is used for the conjunction with the maintenance, repair, with the construction and inspection of the track, bridges, the red roadway signals, communication, electrical traction system. Definition: roadway maintenance equipment is an on-track with equipment powered by the energy means of an energy of the hand power with the conjunction of the maintenance, repair, with the construction, inspection, track of the bridge, roadway signal, communication, electrical traction system. With the definition have been incorporated with the definition for the dual-purpose vehicle with the specialized roadway maintenance equipment to with the clarified with the set of the vehicles meeting the definition of roadway maintenance equipment with the two subset of the vehicle capable of moving the railroad rolling stock with the dual purpose of the vehicle with the two of the vehicles do not have the such capacity but capability to specialize roadway maintenance equipment. Examples of roadway maintenance equipment is self-propelled weed spray of the rail grinding equipment and self-propelled with the detection equipment and sparing of the track geometry. It does not include movable disabled equipment for clearing and repairing of the track of the wreck train. 247. The specialized roadway maintenance equipment engineer certification not required. Roadway maintenance for the equipment if it does not have the capability of moving the railroad rolling stock. Tampers, excavators, in-track welders, undercutters, ballast regulators, T10, geometry cars and Sperry cars, and unimogs and plaster units. Definition: specialized roadway maintenance for the equipment and roadway maintenance equipment that does not have the capability to move the railroad rolling stock. For the alteration of such equipment that enables the move of the railroad rolling stock will require for the equipment to be treated as a dual-purpose vehicle. Specialized roadway maintenance equipment is not considered to be a locomotive for the purpose of Part 240. Specialized roadway maintenance equipment is not operated by a certain locomotive engineer because since it does not have the capability to move the railroad rolling stock, it cannot be used as a substitute with a traditional locomotive. Examples include equipment that is designed to maintain the track structure that is not normally capable of being operated like a train, such as self-propelled tampers, excavators, in-track welders, undercutters, ballast regulated, ballast shoulder cleaners, ditchers, cross-ties, initial installation machines, mobile cranes, plaster units used for the surfacing gangs if normally transported with the work site with a coupled up with operated on the track. Other examples include the FRA's T10 and geometry cars, Sperry cars, and unimogs used for the Amtrak to perform catenary work capable of operating at 50 miles an hour. 247. Dual-purpose vehicle with a piece of the town track is capable of moving the railroad rolling stock with a freight passenger car that may also function as a roadway maintenance equipment engineer. Certification is sometimes required, but sometimes not. Definition of dual-purpose vehicle with the means of the place of the piece of the non-track and equipment is capable of moving the railroad rolling stock and may also function with the roadway maintenance equipment. Definition of railroad rolling stock is on-track equipment is either a freight car or a passenger car. Since dual-purpose vehicles can be used as a substitute with the traditional locomotive with the capability to move the railroad rolling stock with required for the certified locomotive engineer have control of the dual-purpose vehicle with which being used for the locomotive and service unrelated roadway maintenance. So when even with the context maintenance work with there's no employee available to have the train to operate the vehicle. Continue 247 and 240 104B. Dual-purpose vehicle with track mobiles and burrow cranes branded road railers is shown. Single dual-purpose vehicle with include a rubber-fired vehicle with the outfitted with a chain coupled frequently with a retractable rail wheel with including the track mobile self-propelled locomotive with a bureau crane with capable of hauling multiple cars. Another example of brand-name road railer is which was made with the Kenworth in Canada can operate about 25 miles an hour frequently used with the power of the work train and it could also be used with the switching operation in the future. Dual-purpose vehicle for the maintenance operation or wreck train's operation considered to be maintenance movements. To determine whether the certified engineers require the UFI without with the purpose of the dual-purpose vehicle that is being operated is it with a deadheading switching of the being operated maintenance purpose per amble with the 1999 final rule wrecking operation to move the damaged equipment for the non-maintenance of the movements where are the only movements for the dual-purpose. Dual-purpose vehicle with the FRA intended for the permanent without use of the certified engineer. The wreck train does not require a certified locomotive engineer. Work train. Does a work train need a certified engineer if it is being operated with a locomotive? Question is, does the work train need a certified locomotive engineer if it is being operated with the locomotive? The answer is yes. Being operated with an individual train qualified in accordance with the 214, 341, 343, and 355 of the 341 roadway maintenance machine with each employer include with the on-track safety program, specific provision, safety roadway workers for the operator with the work near with the roadway maintenance machine with those provisions shall with the draft is 1. The train qualification operator with the roadway maintenance machines. 2. The establishment and issuance of the safety procedure for the bowl of the general application specific type of the machine. 3. The communication between the machine operator with the roadway workers assigned with the work near with the roadway maintenance machines. 4. Space between the machines to prevent collision. 5. Space between the machine and roadway workers to prevent the personal injury. 6. The maximum working travel speed with the permission for the machine depending on the weather visibility with the top and capabilities. Instruction 1B. The instruction for the safety of the operation each for the roadway machine shall provide with the maintain each for the machine large enough to carry instruction documentation. 1. No roadway worker shall operate a roadway maintenance machine without having been trained in accordance with the 214, 355 and the road worker shall operate with a roadway maintenance machine without having the complete with the knowledge of the safety instruction applicable to the machine. 3. The no employer with the assignment of the roadway worker to the near of the roadway machine unless the roadway worker has been informed of the safety procedure applicable to the person with the working near the roadway machine with the acknowledgeable of the full understanding. The components of the railroad maintenance machine shall be kept with the clear of the trains passing with adjacent track for the operating condition of the permanent roadway maintenance machine to be less than 4 feet from the rail with adjacent track for the on-track safety program of the railroad shall include procedural instructions necessary to provide adequate for the clearance between the machine and passing trains. Being operated with an individual train qualified in court with the 214, 341, 343, and 355, 214, 343 training and qualification training role. A no employer shall determine the employee with the perform the duties of the roadway worker with the no employee shall accept the touch of the time and left the employee have the receipt of the training on track safety procedure with associated with the assignment to be formed that employee with the demonstrated ability to fully responsibility for on track safety that required for the individual roadway worker performing the assignment. B. Each of the employers shall provide with all the roadway workers employed with the initial current training once each calendar year on the track of the safety rule procedure that they're required to follow with the receipt of the railroad employees other than the roadway workers who are associated on track safety procedure for the primary due for the concern of the movement and the protection of the train shall be trained to perform all the functions related with the on track safety through the train qualification procedure prescribed with the operating railroad with the primary position employee, including the maintenance of the record and frequency of the training. Each of the employee of the roadway maker shall maintain written electronic records for each of the roadway qualification. In fact, each record shall include with the name of the employee with the type of the qualification made with the most recent date of the qualification. These records shall be kept available to the inspection photocopied by the Federal Railroad Administration during regular business hours. Being operated with an individual train qualified in accord with the 214, 341, 343, 355. 214, 355 train qualification on track safety operated with the roadway maintenance machines. A. The training qualification roadway workers who operate the roadway maintenance machine shall include the minimum procedure for the prevention of the person from being struck by the machine within the motion or operation. 2. The procedure preventing the part of the machine from being struck by the train with the other equipment of the track. 3. The procedure provided with the topic of the machine short of the other machine to the obstruction of the track. 4. Method for the determined safety operation procedure for each of the machine with the operator expected of the operator. B. The initial periodic qualification roadway working operation roadway maintenance machine shall be the evidence demonstrated with proficiency. Classes of service. Engineer classification training. Service engineer may operate locomotives and cars. Locomotive service engineer may operate only locomotives, no cars. Student engineer may operate under direct immediate supervision of an instructor engineer. Criteria classification, classes of service. Each of the railroad programs shall state within the 3 classes of the service of the cover the railroad may issue the certificate any of the following classes of the certificate of the following operational constraints applied to each of the classes of service. The train service engineer may operate the locomotive singly with the multiples of the may move them without coupled to them. 2 locomotive service engineers may operate locomotives singly with the multiple but may not move them with cars coupled to 2 of them. And 3, student engineer may operate only under the direct immediate supervision with the instructor or engineer with each of the railroad authorized impose with additional with a condition with the operation restriction of the service engineer that may perform beyond those identified in 240-107, provided those conditions and restrictions are not consistent with the Part 240-240-107. Student engineer. Does the student engineer have to go through all of those training requirements before being certified as a student engineer? Railroad may certify the person with a student engineer after the determining of the person meet with the vision, hearing, and acuity standard with the 240-121 railroad most subsequently certified student engineer with either the locomotive service engineer, train service engineer with further review, vision, hearing, acuity provided with the determining whether the person successfully completed with the program complied with the 240-123. The person meets with the eligibility requirement of 240-109, 240-119, and a period not more than 24 months with the lapse since the student with the engineer certificate was issued. See page 75 of the certificate evaluation tab of the reference guide 24203B. Instructor engineer person who is qualified locomotive engineer has been selected by the railroads to teach for the other proper training, handling, and procedure for the demonstration of the adequate knowledge of the subject under the instruction. A student engineer may operate only over the direct immediate with the supervision with the instructor. And if the definition instructor engineer means the person with the qualified locomotive engineer over the part that has been selected for the railroad to teach for the other proper training with the handling procedures. And 3, demonstrate adequate knowledge of the subject under the instruction. Note that no requirement of the railroad to have the listing of the instructor engineer. Question of the student engineer for the operating locomotive. Is it okay for the engineer to assist the conductor who hitches his duties on the ground as long as he remains closely proximity of the lead locomotive? No, the instructor engineer should be in the locomotive cab with the student engineer. 247 to 240-107. The decertification implications for the instructor engineer. Railroad must evaluate the action in action by the student and the instructor engineer pilot with the designated supervisor, the locomotive engineer, only with the person accusable culpable for non-compliance will be accountable. The student engineer certificate may be revoked. Question. What are the certification implications for the cert, instructor engineer of the operation mistake with the made with the student engineer of the railroad call with the base of the circumstance of the railroad discipline policy may prevail with extreme case for the student culpability may be the deciding factor for his completing of the training program. On page 1899, 4 of the preamble, the interim final rule state that the important of the remember of the only operation makes for the involved with the non-compliance of the from 1 of 5 critical rule of the trigger potential revocation, certification, additional operational mistakes that can involve with a wide variety of actual settings. The FRA regave the railroad discretion to evaluate each of the situations, determine well if the appropriate response should be with the depart. Instant of the railroad must evaluate whether the action and action for the student, of the instructor, engineer, advisor, and the student, and evaluate for the conduct of the both the persons under the FRA rule. FRA intended for the only the individual who's actually culpable of the non-compliance for the accountability for the purpose of 241.17. Some settings culpability code belong from the student alone, with the instructor alone, or be assigned to both the engineers. Note the above also applies to a situation where the engineer pilot with a designated supervisor or locomotive engineers accompanying an engineer. Note, see page 10 of the certification evaluation tab. Engineer classification. Could a railroad have an engineer classification of the training certificate engineer's yard only? Question. Could a railroad have an engineer classification training certificate engineer as a yard only? Answer is yes. A railroad authorized to impose an additional restriction on the certificate as long as it is not inconsistent with the preamble of the interim final rule of the 1899-95 states the second statement of the interpretive of the question of the generated by the desire some of the railroads to certify the person trained certificate engineer, but within impose the significant limits of the constraint of the operational authority of that person. 24107 that permits the railroad to take such action can be employed with the taking the direct of the issue with the utilizing person who would have sufficient skills to perform an terminal yard service but lack the knowledge and skills to operate trains beyond the terminal areas. Railroads that elect to allow to follow the approachable course need to structure their implementation program submission for the reflect the difference in the training of the testing of these engineers that would flow for the more limited to the operational responsibility. 24107. Alright, engineer qualification. May a locomotive service engineer move with a locomotive consistent with a fuel tender car attached or a slave with a DPU with a unit coupled to with a box car with a container with electronic equipment? Question, would a locomotive service engineer move with a locomotive consistent with a fuel tender attached? Answer, if it is okay with as long as the fuel tender with an integral part of the intent with only used with a specific locomotive with which it is attached, as long as the fuel tender they have multiple units for the properly connected with the other locomotive consistent with the fuel tender considered part of the locomotive consistent with therefore the employees working with the locomotive shop can move the equipment without certification. Regarding the employee with a locomotive service certification, the same would have been hold. The exemption is when it becomes necessary for the switch of the tender out of the consist, uncouple all the multiple unit hoses of the fuel tender now is separated with a consist with considered a car with the move the separated fuel tender would be considered switching an operation which must be performed with certified training service engineer. Moving the tenders just coupled would be considered switching operation because only the fuel connections are broken and the tender is no longer considered part of the consist. Question, can a locomotive service engineer make a locomotive slave unit coupled to a boxcar containing electronic equipment? Answer, yes, same conditions. Fuel tender 1994 Sarah Hall, letter John Kunkel, email. Engineering classification may not certify with a member of the National Railroad Heritage NHRS. Operate a steam train on a Class 1 railroad. Qualified engineer, designated supervised locomotive engineer are on board. Question, the National Railroad Historical Society plans to operate a steam train with a Class 1 railroad with a Class 1 push with a qualified engineer designated supervisor or locomotive engineer on the locomotive, most certified managers of the National Railway Highway Society, National Railway Historical Society. The steam locomotive from Arkansas to Louisiana is prohibited. The answer is yes, it is prohibited. The rule of the two mechanisms of dealing with the situation. The first is the issue of the waiver. The second is to attribute the identified steam operator with the two engineer issued to him, and the certificate is such that the Class 1 railroad could rely on the presence of the designated supervisor locomotive engineer and appropriate locomotive engineer and send an instructor engineer to be in compliance with the, of course, the student engineer would have to have passed with a hearing and vision test. This is addressed in the preamble in terminal final rule, page 1899-5, 240-107, 1992, Larry Wagner memo. Engineer classification. Does the operation of the locomotive during the wrecking operation require a certified locomotive engineer? Question, does the operator locomotive during the wrecking operation require a certified locomotive engineer? Answer is yes, beyond the scope of the engineer certification inclusion required for the railroad to deal with the wrecking operation in the same manner as for any other locomotive operation certified locomotive engineer. Op 9736. 3. The preamble to the 1999 final rule, wrecking operation to move the damaged equipment and non-maintenance movements, which are the only movements of the dual-purpose vehicle for the FRA intended for the permit without use of certified engineer. Engineer classification. If the railroad wants to train with a locomotive certificate engineer, there be a trained certificate engineer. Does the engineer need to both the locomotive certificate with the student engineer certificate? Question is, if the railroad wants to train a locomotive certificate engineer with a trained certificate engineer, does the engineer need both the locomotive certificate student engineer certificate? Answer for the no. The endorsement of locomotive certificate of the supplementary document is insufficient. Reflect the status of the student trained certificate engineer. This question is raised of the preamble of the interim final rule of page 1899.5. Accomplished for the transition of the person, even the function of the student with the sum allocation of the certificate engineer of the others of the railroad, reluctant for the issue of the person with the two certificates reflect with the quadruality of the person's status and fearful that even such the action of certificate in the fact that the certificate engineer is hauling cars could be viewed as a violation of section. It is not the FRA's intent that a railroad not be required of the two certificate in setting the endorsement of locomotive certificate and a supplementary document sufficient to reflect with the person's status for the student trained certificate engineer. This intent, the provision is met with the locomotive certificate engineer of the documentation described the function that is a student operated for the under immediate supervision instructor engineer 240-107. Exemption certification move the locomotive or locomotives within the confined locomotive repair servicing areas as part of the 218.5F locomotive servicing track area of the 218.29A1 alternate blue signal protection. Move the locomotive less than 100 feet for the inspection maintenance purposes. Definition of locomotive engineer means to any person with the move the locomotive group of the locomotive regardless of whether they are coupled with the other rolling equipment except one person who moves the locomotive with a group of locomotives within confined with the locomotive repair servicing areas provided in 218.5F and 218.29A1 limited to find blue signal protection, or two of the person who move with the locomotive with a group of locomotives for the distance less than 100 feet for the incidental movement of the locomotive for inspection or maintenance purposes with no coupling allowed. For the exemption to apply, all of those have the blue flag not with the necessary display of the locomotive servicing track area with the meeting, one of the more track with the area with the testing, servicing, repair, and inspection building over the locomotives under exclusive control of the mechanical department and personnel that they are made to define and cannot be sporadically. In 1993, the B&N of Burlington Northern applied with a waiver to 247, asking to allow the new to move the locomotives coupled to a maximum of 5 company cars without being certified by the FRA to deny the waiver. The Association of American Railroads has submitted a petition reconsideration of the FRA to allow the non-certified car mover to move the cars with the car repair shop area to 247 of the 1993 Werner letter. Exemption certification, non-certified mechanical employment working with a combined with a blue flag locomotive shift the track area with the required with the switch to 5 locomotive specifically onto with another track that requires him to go outside of the blue flagged area to get to the headroom is prohibited. Question: non-certified mechanical employees working with a confined with a blue flagged area locomotive shift the track area he is required to switch 5 locomotive consistently on the another track requires him to go outside of the blue flagged area into the headroom. Is this prohibited? To answer yes to the movement into and out to the facility must be conducted with a certified engineer at the controls. Leaving the controls, the operation of the locomotive that means for the individual over the control of the moving the locomotive and the position control of the locomotive should indeed with the rise. If it does not mean there has to be actual manipulation of the controls. The FRA inspectors have encountered several situations where the non-certified individuals have observed the controlling of the moving of the locomotives. For example, the engineer vacated the sheet with the toilet over the cab of the nose for the one cab of the engineer left the controls unattended. In the second cave of the engineer asked another crew member to watch over the control of the third cave of the conductor silent with the whistle after the crossing with the engineer was in the toilet. Operational locomotive, the individual control of the moving the locomotive and in the position control of the locomotive should need to arrive, but it does not mean that there have to be actual manipulation controls. If the violation of the rules, should the non-certified engineer to sit and watch and sound the horn while the engineer is temporarily away, but no controls are touched. The same relations apply with nobody needs as control. This is an engineer leaves the seat vacant, leaves control compartment for any reason with the locomotive is in motion. The FRA considers this a violation of the rule. Continued op 9, 7-15. Leaving the controls if the train surface the engineer vacated with the controls went into the nose of the cab the use of the restroom could he or she be decertified. This does not prohibit the engineer for the exiting the engineer chair for the in order for the move around with the control compartment, but it does require that he remain personally in charge of the operation of the locomotive at all times. The best practice of the inspector train crew in the advance for the railroad policy with the vacating with the engineer seat with the use of the restroom. If the provided with the incorrect answer for the advise them that it would be a violation 240 for the engineer to leave the controls under the circumstance in addition, talking to the railroad to determine what the policy is the matter. The matter question is when circumstances constitute with a revocable event and with the engineer under Part 240. No, it's not a decertifiable event. Question: what should you do when encounter such a situation? Answer: contact with the regional specialist of the guidance depending on the circumstances. Both certified and non-certified employee may be subject to individual liability action. The railroad may also be liable depending on the policy Op 97 and 15. Alright, operators in remote control locomotive. The person with the controlling locomotive of the remote location they use for the railroad signals he or she required to be a certified locomotive. The operating a remote control locomotives. Also preamble the interim final rule of the page 1899.5 of the questions have been raised and another person with the controlling locomotive of the remote location use for the railroad signal of the must deemed engineer for the purpose of the rule for the FRA consider the person locomotive engineer covered by the Part 240 per John Conklin FRA engineer certification program manager. This also includes hump operation stop of the start locomotives by remote control with the hump yard in scenario with the hump operators have to be certified engineers. Incidental train operator with the FRA was asked for the AR to permit with the contracted business entity with the excursion with the dinner train with the company with the operate service the light vehicles to perform their own certification activities by operating on the railroads with only a pilot. The FRA denied the petition. Certification for the incidental train operator with the preamble of the internal final rule of the page 1898 file 4 IFRA address for the AAR request for the involved with the ability of the business entity of the non-traditional railroad to qualify for the other employees under this rule. Appears the FRA asked for the permit the business entity to have with the contractual relation to traditional railroads to perform on the certification activity. For example, the instance of the railroad with the routinely contract with the company to operate with the company's service vehicles while providing inspection and maintenance activities with the instance of which the railroad contract for the operations special venture for the like excursions and dinner train services. If sanctioned contractor self-certification were enabled to contact or operator engineers to operate on a multiple railroads while only pilot provide localized information. The FRA denied with a portion reconsideration request seek the modification rule of the permanent certification engineer of the contract. The other entities incidentally conducting the railroad operation for the general system. The entities are also included with the rule to simply accept the status of the railroad, proceed with comply with and imply with the waiver of the otherwise like plant railroads that can elect to cease operation of the general system or have the host railroad certifying engineers who will perform services on the railroad tracks. Alright, designated supervisor, locomotive engineers. Definition: designated supervisor, locomotive engineers are your DSLEs, and the person designated such over the railroad in accordance with the provision 240.105 of the rule of the designated supervisor of the locomotive is twofold. The one for the designated supervisor, the locomotive that makes the final determination, the locomotive engineer qualified to safely operate with the train. With the two, the other person certified with the designated supervisor, the locomotive is responsible for the qualifying engineer with the physical characteristics of any additional territories over the engineer will need to operate. 247. Designated supervisor, locomotive, and engineers. Railroad shall designate with the written name of the person deemed qualified with the designated supervisor, locomotive, and engineer. After October 30th, 1999, each of the railroad operation designated with the written name of the person deemed the qualified designated supervisor, locomotive, and engineer. Each person designated shall have to demonstrate with the railroad without through the training of the testing of the prior experience with he or she has the knowledge and skill of the ability to the designated supervisor, locomotive, and engineer. After the January 1st, 1991, a railroad shall maintain a written record identifying each of the person designated with thereby as a designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Locomotive shall be updated with the lease annually. The record should be kept at the divisional regional headquarters of the railroad shall be available for the inspection copy to the FRA during regular business hours. See with the record keeping tab with the reference guide over the additional information. 240.201A and 240.221. Designated supervisor, locomotive engineer, railroad program should address. Railroads shall examine the determined knowledge, understanding with Part 240 ability to test and evaluate the knowledge and skill of the engineer, supervise experience with the prescribed remedial action, and 4 certified engineer qualified in assigned territory. 240.105 identified for the criteria selection of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Each of the railroad programs shall include criteria procedure for the implementation. Section of the railroad shall examine any of the person consideration qualification of the supervisor, locomotive engineer, determining that he or she knows and understands requirements of Part 240 can appropriately test and evaluation knowledge and skill of the locomotive engineers, has necessary supervisory experience to prescribe level of appropriate remedial action noted for the deficiency of the training, knowledge, and skill of the person seeking to obtain retaining certification, capable of demonstrating in the seat with a certified engineer who is qualified the physical with the character for the portion of the railroad on which the person will perform the duties of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Continued. Railroad program submission selection, designated supervisor, locomotive engineer, design criteria, evaluation methodology rely on the selection of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer for a minimum With prior experience with the engineer, successful completion of the course of the study with the successful passage of the standardization testing program. Second section of the railroad program submission must speak the name of the information concerned with the railroad proceeding with the selection and selecting with the person relying with the evaluated knowledge, skills, ability of the person seeking with the recertification provided with the 240-105 of each of the railroad must have the procedure given the railroad latitude to select with the criteria evaluation methodology. The railroad must describe on how it will give the latitude and value with the notice of the designated supervisor, local and the engineer. Railroad must identify sufficient detail to permit the effect of the review by the FRA criteria for the evaluation is selected. For example, the railroad intended to rely on one or more of the following minimum level of prior experience of the engineer. Social completion of the study, the successful passage of the standardization testing program, and submission must state within the criteria that employs 240-105, Appendix B, Part 240. Alright, designated supervisor, locomotive engineers. If the railroad does not have the designated supervisor, locomotive chief operating officer shall be determined in writing of the designated supervisor, designated process with the necessary skills necessary in the 241-127 concerning special operation character unique to the railroad. Alright. And if a railroad does not have the designated supervisor, locomotive wish to hire one, the chief of the operating officer of the railroad shall make with the determination writing of the designated supervisor, locomotive designated with the possess of the necessary performance skill with the accordance with the 241-27 of page 58 with the certification evaluation tab of the determination shall take into account with the special operation characteristics which are unique to the other that railroad. The designated supervisor, locomotive with the training with the territory receive the training physical character of the new territory requisite scale with the demonstrate the difficulty of the train preamble to the 1999 final rule. The railroad program must address the intent of the implementation physical characteristics qualification designated supervisor locomotive edition 240-105C is an effort to clarify how small railroads, particularly those commencing with the operation, find themselves without qualified with a certified designated supervisor locomotive with a designated with the train / individuals without reliance on the outside source of the Title 56 FRA 2822A 2824-1 and 242 of June 1991 started with the designated super locomotive shall be a contractor rather than continued. The employee of the railroad, designated supervisor, locomotive engineer, but if the railroad doesn't have the designated locomotive, the chief of the operating shall make the determination of the writing of the designated supervisor, locomotive designated to possess the necessary skills per the 240-127. Considering the special operation of the characteristics unique to the railroad, the need with the creative of the designated supervisor, locomotive occur with a variety of scenarios, included with the new railroad's newly certified locomotive engineer with the designated super locomotive engineer. Railroad may have had one of the few with the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer at one time, but not longer employed with the qualified individuals that railroad shall wish to utilize with the contractor engineers. For the railroad that do not have the designated locomotive engineer with addition with the 240-105C, but enable to consider the additional option with the creation of the first designated supervisor locomotive engineer. This section is designed to address the problems of the ride with the railroad being unable to certify any for the personal locomotive engineer let with alone with the designated supervisor locomotive engineer for the railroad lacks even the designated supervisor locomotive engineer could conduct the required training and testing with 242-03A4 with initial certification, recertification, or 242-25A5 certifying based on the reliance qualification determination made with the railroad's man. And meanwhile, even when the 240-105C is utilized, the railroad must comply with the other provision either with the 242-03 or 242-25 preamble to 1999 final rule. Alright, designated supervisor, locomotive engineer, qualifying physical characteristics only assigned territory qualifying engineer physical characteristics of the territory when conducting the performance skill of the testing on student new engineer. Designated supervisor, locomotive needs to be qualified physical character of the territory following circumstance his or her assigned territory qualifying engineer physical characteristics of the territory conducting a performance skill test with the student engineer with a new engineer. Alright, and it gives a letter here. Mr. Edward Lashot, Venice Chairman of the Williams State Legislative Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineering, and that's in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Mr. Lashot, thank you for the August 29th letter concerning the certification requirement of the individual operating locomotive privately owned with industrial tracks. Specifically, we require for the information concerning the circumstance in which an individual operating a locomotive would not need to meet with the requirement of Title 49 U.S. Code Federal Regulations, Part 240-243, A applicability, Part 240 statement, the part apply with the railroad to operate with locomotive standard gauge track, but this is part of the general railroad system and the transportation, Part 243C. 243B, this part does not apply with the rapid transit operation urban area, but they are not connected with the general system of transportation, and the railroad operates only on the track inside of the installation, but not part of the general railroad system of transportation. Emphasis mine. Federal Railroad Administration regulation excluded these each of the railroad with the entire operation for the confines of the industrial installation plant railroad, such as those of the toll mills that do not go beyond the plant boundaries. In some cases, plant railroad leases immediately adjacent to it with the plant with the general system railroad for the purpose of moving the only car shipped on to or from the other plant. From the plant leases would remove the plant railroad operation from the trackage from the general system for the purpose of the FRA regulation. In addition, Part 240 excludes all the railroads that are not in part of the operated over the general railroad system of the transportation, i.e. the general network of the general standard gauge railroad over the which for the interchange of the good and passenger throughout the nations, if possible. However, the plant railroad of the railroad not considered the part of the general system and operates for the general system, and the equipment and crew of the practice would be subject to the FRA regulation. Even the railroad operates outside of the general system. The other railroad is definitely part of the general system may have the occasion of the first railroad operative of the major railroad goes from the chemical, auto, coal plant to pick up the set of cars associated with the railroad that is the part of the general system and remains with the system while the outside of the installation, thus all of the activities are covered with the FRA regulation during this period. Any interpretive of the issue with concern with the applicability of these policies, certain railroad operations investigated by the FRA case-by-case basis. I hope information is helpful. I thank you for the interest in the railroad safety. Sincerely, Edward R. English, Director, Office of Safety, Assurance, and Compliance. Alright, Op 9736 with the wrecking operation. Several incidents have brought the FRA's attention involved with the operational locomotive of the uncertified person with the during of the wrecking operation. Some of them take with the position of the operation diminious in nature, neither directly associated with the railroad operation, not applicable to the intent of the Part 240. Others that have been indicated that these operations conducted with all the purpose, while personnel are located with the close proximity of the equipment, therefore sensitive to the nature of requiring the expertise of the training and intrinsic to the engineer certification. By definition, for the FRA, exclude the engineer certification, aim with the part of the one move of the locomotive, of the group of the locomotive, of the confines of the locomotive, of the repair servicing area, which testing, service, and repair with the inspection, rebuild of the locomotive under the exclusive control of the mechanical department and personnel over the air, with the protective of the blue signal, with the display, with the near of the switch, provided for the entrance, for the departure over the area, with the two of the move of the locomotive, group of the locomotive, the distance not less than 100 feet, the incidental movement of the locomotive, the group of the locomotives, if for the inspection maintenance purposes, language clear and unambiguous, except for those two exclusions, nowhere over the shape of the non-intended anyone over the certified locomotive engineer is permitted for the operator of the locomotive to which cars attached. Conversely, with the language is clear with no exclusion as to where the locomotives may be moved for the purpose of inspection, maintenance, as long as the distance is less than 100 feet, with the clearly movements of the locomotive of the car during the braking operation not provided with the regulation prime of the function with the braking operation clearly railroad damage equipment in order to for the restore service, and so doing so with the uncommon of the relaid locomotive and or equipment to remove it on the location beyond the wreck site, thereby expanding these operation. FRA policy with the FRA believe the operational locomotive during the wrecking with the operation beyond the scope of the aforementioned exclusion, therefore the required railroad conduct with the operation the same manner as any other locomotive operation certified locomotive engineer. 2. Tom Murphy, subject certified engineer, steam excursion operation, Southern Pacific, asking the clarification required with the compliance with the Part 249 railroad personnel seeking the operated steam locomotive on the SP track. And then the SP says the immediate concern with the prompted for the desire of the National Railroad Historic Society to be signed for the steam train for the Little Rock Air Control somewhere in Louisiana. Operation contemplated for the weekend of May 2 to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd. 2. May 2nd to the 3rd. However, the South Pacific determined the requirement of the operating with another steam locomotive of the South, particularly routinely allowed with the steam locomotive the owned with the city of the Portland to operate with the over the track at various times during the summer months. Millership of the South Pacific normally with the qualified engineer road foreman with the engine of the National Railroad Historical Society steam with the South Pacific exercise no control with the National Railroad Historical Society. Means to run the unit with a similar system with the place for the entitled with the 4449, except for the city of the Portland retained with the South Pacific engineer who put her in charge of the unit but decides to run it with the Miller wanted to know whether the South Pacific would be in violation of the rule. If they continue with the practice if in violation, they could extricate themselves. I told Miller that currently rule they only have the two mechanisms dealing with the situation versus if the issue of the way with the second industry with the identified as human operator with the student's issue of the certification and such. The South Pacific could rely on the president of the supervisor, the locomotive engineer with the property with the locomotive the engineer with the instructor to be in compliance with the Miller and sound reasonable and sense. Only thing of the student needs to be to show his or her physical fitness, visual hearing, intends to hold down the number of the buff to climb into the seats layer Wagner. And we have another letter. These Let's see when we get back to. Alright, certification, evaluation, time limitation, certification, evaluations.